Hey Joe, hope you're doing well. Kind of looking back at some of the Saints' defense and what they do, seems like a lot of offenses had success using the tight end. Is this kind of a week where you could see maybe Chris or Ian maybe step their game up a little bit?
Yeah, I think it's a. I think every single game there's opportunities there for the tight end for every skill position. I don't think it's one thing that you put a singular focus on and saying, hey, tight ends, this is your week and you have to make plays. We're just going to continue to take what the defense gives us and kind of go from there.
All right, let's go to Josh Graham for the next question.
Coach, a lot's been made of your relationship with Coach Payton and the Saints. What does this game mean to you personally?
Means no different than the Bears game, the Cardinals game, the Falcons game. It's. I think if you're a process oriented person, I think you can't approach games differently. So I'm going to go out there and call plays just like I do normally and approach the week and do everything exact same.
All right, let's go to Miles Simmons and then Phil Orban.
Joe, is there something you've been able to identify in the red zone that you guys can do to start getting touchdowns there?
Yeah, I think I think it's everybody kind of looking in the mirror, and as offensive coordinator, I always say it starts with me. It's the ownership, and I can say I got to do a better job at preparing the guys. I got to do better at play calling, and and I think our players would say the same thing and say they got to execute. And so I think it's full circle, but when we're not producing, it's my name on it, and I got to do a better job.
Hey, Joe, what were kind of the first most significant lessons you learned about the NFL from your time in New Orleans when you first got there in 2017?
You learn the professional, the mentality and the professional atmosphere, just the day-to-day, the grind, and seeing how men, some of the elite in the profession, just how they approach every single day. And it's impressive when you watch guys 10, 12 years in the league, how they take care of their bodies, how they do everything. And that was the biggest eye-opening for me coming from the college world.
Let's go to Jonathan Alexander and then Joe Person.
Hey, Joe, hope you're doing well. Question. So when you look back at Teddy at New Orleans and now you have Teddy, the starter at Carolina, what stands out most?
I think Teddy's consistency. I think Teddy's the same person from a mentality standpoint. He's just getting the opportunity to, get on the field. He did what he had to do this past year when he had the chance and with the 5 games. And I think I think one thing everybody knows about Teddy Bridgewater is he's consistent. He knows, he's prepared when he goes in every football games and he makes plays when he's in those games. And so from that standpoint, that he's who he's been his entire career, and he's just now getting the opportunity to continue to build upon that.
Joe, I know Sean had said when you left for Baton Rouge that he thought, that you maybe should have stayed in New Orleans, that it was maybe too soon. Can you kind of go through that decision? And was it tough at all, or was it just one of those no-brainers when you get that kind of opportunity?
I think anytime you have an opportunity, you go to people that you trust and just talk through things. I think there's always, I think when decisions come up there, sometimes there's, it's easy to see what's next, and oftentimes the grass isn't always greener. And so you go to the people that you trust, and I trusted him, I trust him, and so I went with him, and I appreciate the advice that he gave. And I'm fortunate. Sometimes you obviously got to make decisions. You got to pray on it and sleep on it and do what you believe is best. But I was fortunate for my opportunity there, and fortunate to be able to go to him for advice.
Let's go to Jason Huber and then David Newton.
Hey, Joe, when you look at this Saints defense, I mean, I know that there's some familiarities from when you were there a few years ago, but does it just having that familiarity, does it make it, is it kind of different for you game planning, knowing that, you've been able to read this defense when you were there in New Orleans?
Look, I think you're familiar with some of the players, but I think Da, Dennis is a great coordinator, great coach, and I think he continues to evolve the identity of the defense, and it's different from when I was there. And I think they do a great job at identifying personnel and getting the matchups that they want from a defensive standpoint. And so, with the exception of knowing, I think every fan knows how good Cam Jordan is. So being familiar with that or not, that they're going to be dynamic up front, and they have guys that can make play throughout the defense. So familiar or not, we're going to have to see what we trust on tape and go from there.
Hey, Joe, what do you see in Teddy Bridgewater that you also see in Drew Brees that makes both of them so efficient at running this offense?
I think in any quarterback, when you shouldn't be able to tell when you're up 40 or down 40. And I think when you look on the sidelines of a guy like Teddy Bridgewater, you can't tell that. He's calm, cool, collected. You throw an interception, you score a touchdown. He's the same guy because we got to play for 60 minutes. And so, I think you obviously, Drew Brees has been able to do that for so many times, and just how they process things. They see blitzes. They're able to play in the gray. And I think so many times quarterbacks, it's very black and white, and football is not that way. It's never exactly what we expect. And the great quarterbacks are able to just make decisions and process things at a snap faster and be able to make the plays. And Teddy Bridgewater definitely has that in him.
All right, let's go to Mike Solarte and then Amy Just.
Hey, thanks, Preston. Coach, you just mentioned the respect you have for their defensive coordinator, and I'm just curious because you guys are in this business to compete. How much are you kind of competing week in and week out in that mental chess game of what's he going to do and what can I do to beat him? I know you're trying to advance the ball and help the Panthers win, but is there a little bit of that competitive fire in the coordinators as well?
You're saying it from an offensive coordinators to offensive coordinators or offense against defense?
Correct. Offensive coordinator against defensive coordinator, that sort of thing, the mental chess game you guys might play.
No, I think I think there's obviously, there's a scheme element of football, and but I think it's in football you're competitive as it is, but it's nothing of like hey, having to prove it to this coordinator or prove it to that coordinator. You're just trying to play within your system and try to attack things that you see as favorable matchups for you. But from a process standpoint and from a scheme standpoint, not much. I don't get too emotional or too caught up in that aspect of it.
Hey, Joe, long time no see. Hope you're doing well. Teddy talked about that 2018 season yesterday with you, and then how that built the chemistry between you. How would you say that season has benefited y'all moving forward here, even though it's been a couple years?
I mean, it was huge. You get an opportunity to, Teddy Bridgewater comes into New Orleans, and I had an opportunity to meet with him and work with him. And, I was still learning the offense. And so being able to learn the small details of a system that's been in place for so many years. And so being able to teach that with Teddy while I was learning it, so we're kind of learning it together, and you get a feel of personalities. And then just, growing that entire year, it was the season obviously didn't end how we all wanted, but there was a lot of success in that season, and just seeing how, a guy like Drew Brees approaches it, and sitting in the room with Teddy and Taysom and the quarterback coach and Pete. And, it was just, our relationship was strong, and I'm fortunate to be able to be with him right now.
All right, guys, we only have time for a few more, so let's go to Jonathan Alexander and then Joe Person.
Joe, I know there was some talk earlier that the game might be played in Baton Rouge. It's not, but are you at all bummed it's not going to be in Baton Rouge?
I'm like, if you guys know me, if we're playing at our high school field, if we're, as long as there's a 100-yard football field, that's all that really matters to me, getting to play football. So being in the Superdome, being at Tiger Stadium, being here in Charlotte, obviously you want to play in your fans, but as long as there's football being played, I don't care where it is, I'll be ready to go.
Joe, as a guy who is kind of all about the process, as you often said and said earlier today, were you at all kind of dreading this week, not for the on the field stuff, but for like this Zoom meeting, for instance, and the Saints questions? And then on top of it, kind of related, how tough has it been to stay within that process when you guys were in the building Monday and Tuesday and things kind of getting shifted that way?
Look, it's, I think everything is able to, if you're truly a process-driven person and process-oriented, you understand that, hey, things are going to change, and you just have to adapt and roll with it. And I think, not being in the office, well, we can't sit there and make excuses, and we're not going to let people make excuses for us. So we're going to set up at home and find ways to get everything done that we could in the office. And I think that's the kind of the mindset of the guys that we have. And I think when things change, you just got to be able to adapt. And we knew that this was how the season was going to be. And I'm fortunate to be surrounded by a great offensive staff that makes my life a lot easier as well. I'm sorry, what was your first question of that?
Just, was there part of you that sort of dreaded this week with all the noise that would come with it?
No, I know you guys, you do a fantastic job, but I'm kind of in my own bubble, so I don't hear the outside world. I don't, I'm sorry to say this, but I don't read the outside world, and so I just approach it. That competitive stamina where the thrill isn't in winning, but the opportunity to win again. And so, when you lose a football game, you come in and you gotta find out what you did wrong in the learning, but you got a chance to win, and you got a chance to go 1-0 this week. And so that's all that was on my mindset coming into work. It wasn't about who we're playing. They're nameless, faceless opponents each week, and we got an opportunity to go 1-0, and that's the most important thing.
All right, guys, we only have time for one more, so let's go to Amy just before we wrap it up.
Yeah. You just said that you try to keep it nameless, faceless, and you don't approach it any different. But do you take time, whether it's before the season or after, even during the week, to reflect on how things have kind of come full circle for you, or you try to keep that out of your mind?
I try to keep that out of my mind because it really is not going to benefit me moving forward. I have a job to do. I'm the offense coordinator of the Carolina Panthers, and it's my job to get our guys to prepare to be able to execute on Sunday. And so when I spend time thinking about other things outside of that, I'm doing a disservice to my players and my guys in this organization. So I try to just stay focused and be ready to go come Sunday.